the Square Ball Podcast.
Hello to you and welcome to the show. It's Dan Moylan here with Michael Normanton and Dean Smith. So Leeds United won 2-0 in second gear away at Cardiff in a game that left us all feeling a little bit confused and weirded out. Are we good? Are we shit? What's happening? Do we know? Are we missing number 10? Loads of questions there. The women beat Durham Sestria 4-2. The 21s lost 4-1 to Wolves. And we are getting, you get this, a shiny new Champions League level 4 grade stadium. Some upgrades anyway, some big upgrades, apparently, so the club say. So where should we start? Should we start on stadium, because that's the newest of the news?
Yeah, let's, because I think the big thing that was missing from the shiny announcement was timescale.
And pictures.
And pictures. It left me, I saw it popping up on social media, and I thought, oh, great, there's going to be some new information here. There's going to be something you can really cling on to, maybe a date you can stick in the diary. No. Nothing new, just vagueness is what I got from it.
I think we can claim the exclusive on this, can't we? Because it's basically what Angus Kinnear came in and told us when we spoke to him.
Pretty much. I think it's also what he told us 3 years ago, mind.
Right.
Except...
listen to you. You're so cynical, the pair of you. But I think we can say we have seen a picture, not thanks to Angus, like it came to us via other means, not somebody at the club. So pictures do exist. It's just they're not showing them to people yet. I think there's a sense of probably not wanting to overpromise and then underdeliver and fall victim to the very same thing that you're talking about there, fall into that same trap of we've shown you the shiny drawings and the plans and actually we're not doing them.
Yeah, but I suppose you've got to make it real for people, haven't you?
Right.
So when you see an image of it is when you go, oh, wow, they're actually serious with this. But then again...
But the image we've seen looks cool.
It was not hugely detailed, though.
No.
It just sort of showed the west stand to the north being bigger.
Yes.
which was fairly limited. It's like, well, yeah, I would have guessed.
Which is what the press release said, to be fair.
Yeah. Just imagine them like bigger and more modern.
Yeah.
But quite smooth looking from the renders we saw. But I think they were very vague.
Like Action Man.
Yeah. That sort of a thing.
I was going to say the word smooth as well, remembering that photograph. And it stands out because I think we mentioned it on a show we did about Elland Road, like the different stands and what they all mean and how they feel. I think we mentioned it then that I don't want it to be smooth. I want it to be a little bit rough around the edges. And I think when they get spades in the ground and we start to improve the stadium, it's going to lose a little bit of that kind of up and at 'em Elland Road. I don't know. The smoothness, yeah, it's like an Action Man.
What it's going to miss is it's the danger. The danger of sitting in an asbestos-riddled 50s build.
The danger of getting tetanus just getting to your seat.
Or the 70s build, if you consider the case of the Cop. So it's all quite old. There's a lot of history in there. And it's going to look shiny and new, and we're going to hate it. We're going to like it, but we're going to hate it. But they're bringing in acoustic experts, Michael.
Is that right?
Didn't you see that?
I did read it, actually, yeah.
To make it noisy. Will it be noisy?
Well,
or do we need something to get excited about first?
If they're going to replace the PA system, we'll obviously be losing the sonic attack as we launched that time.
Is it? Can I just ask, is it just me, or is the PA system louder this year?
It's either louder or non-existent in the Cop. There was one game it definitely didn't work at all. You could hear it from the sides. I assume it was either from the far side of the Cop or just from the west and the east, because you couldn't really hear it properly at all. And then sometimes it's deafening.
Right, because I just remember going into Wembley Stadium and it being like getting fucked in the ears by the noise. It was just so loud. It was deafening and I hated it.
It was good. That halftime show, though, was really entertaining. I hope we do more stuff like that.
Or was it the fucking TikTokers?
It was dreadful.
Was it picking a joint team from both sides or whatever?
It's just the most pointless thing.
I noticed the cowards did it down at the Southampton end and not in front of the Leeds fans.
Yeah, I mean, we know this needs doing. It's needed doing for the entire time I've been going to Leeds. That West Stand has needed demolishing.
Do you think there's almost part of you thinks because it's been so long since we did anything to the stadium, so the East Stand is the newest part of the ground, and that's early 90s now. It's when we won the league title. That's the newest bit. Because nothing's been done since, and obviously Ridsdale's out-of-town plans fell through and all the rest of it, that there's almost an argument for just keeping it like it is forever, like a museum piece. I think that's where you lean, Michael.
Possibly. It's weird. It's one of those things that I recognise it's not very good and quite ugly. Do you remember the Evening Post building when there was talk of them getting rid of that?
So the Evening Post building, for anybody who's not familiar with the architecture of Leeds, it was a brutalist 60s concrete edifice next to the inner ring road. was really, really ugly. Contained a Printworks, which is, but they got rid of it because obviously they stopped printing newspapers there and sent everything regional, and then in the end, print's dead. so nobody prints anything anymore. But you've got a fanzine.
We have got a fanzine, but we're not trying to sell like 100,000 a day of those, are we? In the same way as the YEP was attempting to do at some point. But yeah, when they said they were knocking that down, I kind of went, oh, that is ugly. And then it came around to knocking it down. I was like, I think I might miss it, And then they said we're going to leave the tower, and then they just covered it in adverts and let it fall apart. And now I think they're knocking that down.
And the tower makes it sound more spectacular than perhaps it is. It's not that tall, and it just had like a really dated digital clock on the top of it. But because I think a lot of people had grown up with it, there was sort of a nostalgia for it.
It looks like a rundown fireman's training thing.
It really does, yeah.
And I feel like I remember driving past the Yorkshire Evening Post building, going to Elland Road as a kid, and thinking we're nearly there. It was always the signifier, right? We're really close now. But it just looks more and more sad over the years because it is peeling. But Elland Road doesn't have the same thing. I don't think it does look sad, but it just has so much charm about it. The thing that I would say is that we do need more seats though. So I don't know how you keep it the same. Maybe we just squish more chairs in. Everybody has to stand up.
Was it the World Cup in Russia that I'm thinking about, where they had a stadium that wasn't quite big enough? So they just opened up like one of the ends and just built behind an absolutely gigantic scaffolding stand. I think, again, going back to what you'd want out of this, Michael, I think you'd be up for that. Exposed to the elements, held together with cable ties and gaffer tape.
I'm sure years ago we proposed making the Cop make it big enough so it goes back over the M621. What would be the biggest stand ever made?
It's a good sort of 300 yards, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd have to have like binoculars for the back people on the back row. You could have them built in though, like in the theatre. You've got a little coin slot, and there's a little pouch for your binoculars.
Yeah,
that could be an option.
Right?
Maybe there's not thought of it.
Again, maybe not going to serve the atmosphere that well, and the acoustic experts might need to pull an absolute rabbit out of the hat there.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe next to your binoculars, you have a little loudhailer. So you put a pound in for your binoculars, pound in for your loudhailer, and then you can scream, "The ref's a wanker" from...
Do you think giving people missiles would be a good idea? In-seat missiles.
But you're not going to reach the pitch.
You're going to have crossbows.
It's not necessarily the pitch I'm worried about. It's somebody's going to lob it from the back to the front is what I'm saying. A goal goes in, a celebration happens. Like these pint chucking people now at England games and tournaments. Same vibe, but with big plastic megaphone.
Oh, see. Yeah, fine. All right, we won't do that.
500 megaphones getting thrown in the air.
All right, then maybe it's just the speaker bit. So the microphone bit. So it's attached to the chair in front of you. You just pull it up. It's on a wire.
Again,
you can utter.
Is that wire staying intact? No, it's not.
I'm just coming up with solutions there. Come
on. So the acoustic experts anyway are going to make it atmospheric and loud, which it's good that they're doing that. Whether it achieves its aim or not remains to be seen.
What the acoustic experts need to remember, though, is that priority for creating a good atmosphere is making it affordable for people and making sure you get people who have always gone to Leeds games can still go to Leeds games.
Right.
Because you can bring in all the acoustic experts you want, but if you've got a stand full of tourists, they will not make any noise.
No.
And I'm not against tourists per se, but the vast majority of Elland Road needs to be people who go week in, week out for it to be a decent atmosphere. And my concern would be that they'll go, the atmosphere's just not as good since the new stand came in and we charge everyone 60 quid to sit in it. You'd be like, yeah, that's because people in there go twice a year because it's 60 quid.
Right.
So make it cheap.
How much?
£12.
Right. Very precise forever.
I'll allow it to go up in line with inflation, but £12 should be the starting point. It's weird that we laugh about £12 being the starting point. They could absolutely afford to make it £12.
One of the things,
if you're in the Premier League, you could easily charge everyone 12 quid and you still have loads of money.
One of the things I wish I'd thought about when we had Angus Kinnear in, when we were talking about the ticket prices, was the away ticket prices. So the club has been happy to settle on £30 for away fans because football, by consensus, and he spoke as well about, the market regulating itself. Somehow, football, with its fans and its fans groups and pressure and consideration and thought, has decided £30 is a ceiling that's worth keeping in place for away tickets, which suggests to me that consensus thinks that 30 quid's about right for a football ticket. And yet, Angus sort of justified £50 tickets on the basis of, well, everything's got more expensive. but away tickets haven't. And I know the argument is, well, there's travel involved, there's a time commitment. Yeah, but that's nothing to do with it, is it really?
Mm.
It's what it's worth. So £30 limit forever.
You're not going to you don't means test it, do you? Like if Leeds are playing Portsmouth, but a Portsmouth fan happens to live in Leeds, you don't go, well, you can still pay £45 then because you haven't travelled very far.
Yeah.
Do you make everyone fill out an application form to see how much you should charge them? I think part of the thing of this as well is saying they have stressed there'll be a significant increase to general admission seating, but that isn't the same as season ticket seating either. And given we have a massive season ticket waiting list, I wouldn't be surprised if they added, well, they're talking about adding how many seats there? 37 to 53. I wouldn't be surprised if they say, well, 4,000 can go to new season ticket holders, but the rest will be general admission. And we know general admission can be charged at whatever they want, essentially.
Well, the maths is this. They're adding about 16,000 seats, give or take, and the waiting list is 20-odd thousand season tickets.
Yeah, and they're not going to be putting all those into the season tickets, are they?
Yeah.
There'll be an amount of... The West Stand tickets will be expensive. I don't envisage anything cheap in there.
No.
Which is fine. I understand there's a place for it, and there are people who want a more premium experience.
You want a more basic experience?
I want a more basic. I mean, it can't get more basic than the Cop. Fuck me. Like some soap in the machines or whatever. Running water, just about.
Listen to you with fucking woke nonsense.
I know. Washing my hands.
I think that might have made this this announcement a little bit more interesting, though. If there was just a rough percentage split of what types of tickets might come from that 16,000. So there's going to be a 25% split, which goes to season tickets. There's going to be a 50% split that is GA. Having listened to Angus's,
a Kinnearism.
A Kinnearism. It was like he just learnt that phrase and just really wanted to use it as much as possible. GA. And then another 25% towards like the more luxury corporate experience. But again, because we've not really necessarily learnt anything new here, I feel like I've not been, my thirst has not been quenched. I think a little bit more detail like that about where these tickets, or rather what these tickets were going to be, would have helped with this sell.
Yeah. Everyone's a little bit sad at the minute because we haven't quite figured out our place in the world, and the football's not setting the world alight. So let's put something out now to make everybody be nicer to us.
I do like, though, that they've said 53,000 seats, because that just tickles us over St James's Park's capacity, and it just feels a tiny bit petty.
Oh, absolutely. I'm all for shit like that.
100%.
Yeah. And if in future maybe there's some more expansion and they could stick a few, if demand is met and it's all filled there and the waiting list maintains, stick another 4,000 or 5,000 on elsewhere. If they redevelop, like if the South Stand gets done, maybe take it back a little bit. Whatever, however you do this, just keep nudging us up above other teams.
Oh, just more seats in.
Yeah, because just in the same space?
Same space.
But that's the Lowfields East Stand approach.
That's true.
Yeah, and there's no room in there. Hey, just one thing to note is that some of the architectural partners who've been involved in this, KSS, who do a lot of football stadiums, do you know what else KSS were involved in the design of?
No, actually.
Ken Bates East Stand hotels were KSS, I think.
Oh, are they the ones that Chelsea have just sold to themselves?
I think, yeah.
For like £100 million.
Not ours. Not the East Stand ones, no.
No.
But if the East Stand hotels, or hotel rather,
I thought you meant the Chelsea ones. Right, sorry. Yeah.
That's why I said our.
Sorry, yeah. Because we don't actually have any, do we?
No. Were you thinking about your brave blue boys there?
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Frankie Lampard.
Yeah, that was great. It's JT and the guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, mad that we were going to put a load of hotels around it, isn't it?
But anyway, that's that. Just in terms of the mood, talking about that before, Farke a bit back at it a wee bit, didn't they? I mean, we don't need to spend too long on this because we kind of dealt with the Cardiff game quite a lot on the match ball and with Tony DeRigo, which was great fun, by the way. It's nice to get somebody to kind of, meet us at the tactical analysis level that we engage in normally. It was a challenge for Tony, I think, to step up and talk about football in the way that he did.
It was really, but
he did all right.
He tried his best.
Yeah, he did all right. But yeah, Farke kind of bit back, saying it's not his job to please anybody. It's his job to get promoted, which he's right about, actually.
And please people, he isn't, because I'm just looking at the player ratings. He got, for the most comfortable 2-0 win you could imagine, he got 5.11 out of 10 from TSP Plus subscribers, which is bad. It's only one above the dickhead ref. In fact, it's less than one above the dickhead ref.
John Smith, that sounds like that's an alias and he's hiding something.
Almost certainly.
Was it John Smith or was it Josh Smith?
I didn't write it on the sheet.
Right.
I got this straight from the email that Rob sent out, so I'm blaming Rob.
Rob's going under the bus.
Yeah.
Fine. We could check, but I think it's more fun just to not bother.
Yeah, why?
So these are the average scores out of 10 sent in by our TSB Plus members. Thank you if you sent your ratings in. Top scorer was Ramazani, 7.7.
No, he wasn't.
Oh,
Is this the first time this has happened?
I didn't look down the sheet.
No, you didn't. Joel Piru.
Top scorer from the starters was largely Ramazani at 7.76, but outscored by Peru.
Yeah, only came on for a bit.
7.79 out of 10. Wow. That's me told. What's this? Hang on a second. So, right, Autanaka, 5.86. What are you playing at? He's only misplaced 3 out of 50 passes in a Leeds shirt so far. He's done 50 passes and only put 3 of them in the wrong place.
Wow. That's
5.86 out of 10.
Impressive.
This man is a generational talent.
How many of them have gone more than 10 yards?
In fact, that's one of the lowest scores out of all the team.
He was on for about 30 seconds. It's fine. Isaac Schmidt didn't even get his name included on the sheet because we forgot because he was on for such a small period of time.
He's nearly got the same score as Jayden Bogle.
The one thing I took from Isaac Schmidt was that he's a bit chunky than I thought.
Right.
He looked quite a unit.
Right.
Not fat, just like muscly.
Mm-hmm.
From the pictures I'd seen of him, he didn't look quite as solid as that. But
yeah.
Maybe he'll be all right in the Champo.
I've been thinking about Farke, by the way, and I want to throw an analogy at you. I think our promotion bid this season is reflected in the Apollo space program.
I was thinking that.
Right. So, because I've been thinking about like adventure stories and I've been thinking about Bielsa and why we all enjoyed that so much and why nobody seems to be enjoying this one so much. And I've been reading a book about Apollo. So this just set some links going off in my head. Adventure stories, and you've done telly and shit, Dean. Adventure stories, they should be exceptional. They should involve risk or adversity and should involve personal growth. And I think Apollo 11, the moon landings, Armstrong, Aldrin, the other one, I think it involved all 3 of those. Like it was the first time they'd done it, huge amount of risk and adversity, and mankind's knowledge and all that expanded as a result of doing it, something that had not been done before. And that's why Bielsa was amazing, and that's why we still love it, because it was the ultimate adventure story. It was exceptional. We overcame 16 years of hurt, overcame risk or adversity, same thing, and huge amount of personal growth. We all felt, we've experienced something now, new and exciting, and we got back to the Premier League. By the time Apollo 17 came around, the last one that they did, no one gave a shit anymore because all the fun had been stripped out of it, right? Like moon landings have been normalized. So with the exception of like Apollo 13 and a bit of public interest spiked when that happened because of the mishap there and the accident. But that's because some blokes might live or die. It wasn't because of the actual mission itself. By the time 17 comes around, it wasn't exceptional. The risk had been minimized in the eyes of the public. And there was no growth, there was no perception of growth, even though they did loads of good geology. Like they did loads of it. Like one of the astronauts on Apollo 17 was a geologist. And they got loads of knowledge tapping about with the rocks on the old moon. But no one was interested anymore because it lacked any sort of spirit of adventure anymore. It was boring. Rocks are boring. Sorry, geeks. And that's where I think we are. I think this is Daniel Farke's Apollo 17 era. Right, dismantle my theory.
Right, I'll start at the premise of it. Tom Numbers. We went to the moon, yeah?
Right.
Interesting that you say that.
All right, Letitia.
It's an awful lot of evidence that suggests otherwise. Have you ever seen the? I'm sure there was footage of this. I'll find it. There was someone went up to Buzz Aldrin once and started accusing him of the whole thing of being a conspiracy theory.
Punched him, didn't
he was like about 75, and he just decked him.
It's like, I'm not having any of this. But you get to that age, don't you, where you just don't tolerate stuff anymore.
Somebody just started shouting at him about it being fake, and he just punched him in the face. I just think, oh, fair enough.
I love that. I really support that. Someone's in his face saying, you didn't do a thing.
Fuck off.
He's like, fuck off, mate. I was there.
Bang. That's that.
Actually, this has been brought up in the mailbag, the whole Farke thing. Dave got in touch. You can email now, by the way. Email the show, mailbag@thesquareball.net. We'll take on whatever it is that you send us, probably. Actually, just before I get to that one, first one comes from Royston. It said, just watch this involving Tony DiRigo, who I had the pleasure of talking to at Bristol City last season. Anyway, whatever filter is on your camera, you look like you have jaundice. Are you all right? Regards, Royston. There's a boring technical reason for why it looked like that, and it's to do with a new computer. and how you colour video.
It was also not long after the weekend.
But I've cancelled my liver transplant anyway. But this one from Dave says, "Hi guys, can you remember the type of football Farke insisted on playing when he was in charge of Norwich? I don't think it was anything like the Chuckle Brothers to me to you fiasco we are witnessing at present. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave."
I mean, we did watch his Norwich team winning at Elland Road, didn't we? That was one of the things that we...
But that's because it involved Leeds. We're not watching Norwich.
Oh, God, no. I don't want to see Todd Cantwell and Timo Pukki and all that. No need for that at all.
Well, Dave's goal is noble. It involve research and work, and you're all right.
I think they were definitely more conservative, weren't they, in the game we did watch, the one when they beat Bielsa's Leeds. Because we were dominant possession-wise and territory-wise, weren't we, in the first half, as I remember it. But they just were biding their time and sucker punched us, and then sort of came into the game and we ran out of ideas because they frustrated us. So maybe that's what we do now.
But they also had Buendia, who we apparently were in for and got laughed at because he's a fucking Champions League player in the summer. But maybe that was the key there. And I'm not gonna watch any Norwich games unless they're playing Leeds, and I'm certainly not going to rewatch Norwich's season from 5 years ago because life's too short. But if that ends up at the end of the season being the reason why we didn't romp the league, and Farke flips the bird twice off to Angus Kinane and says you should have got me Buendia, then maybe Dave is talking some sense here. But I'm not watching Norwich. Jesus Christ.
I mean, I will say, just pulled up the table there. His last promotion with Norwich, they did score 93 goals.
Right, that sounds like a lot.
And conceded 57, so they didn't even have a particularly good defence that year.
Right.
Which suggests that they were, I suppose they did have like Grant Hanley and people like that in defence. Maybe they just didn't have very good defenders. But there were lots of goals in that team.
I mean, as I said with Tony DeRigo the other day, at the minute, we're building post-Portsmouth anyway, and let's ignore Middlesbrough. That didn't happen. It's been built on the foundations of a solid defence so far. And again, that's not sexy. That's geology. That's rocks on the moon.
Yeah.
Not exciting enough.
But 93 goals is more than anyone else scored that year by a distance. So it is possible.
Right.
And I guess part of his success was Pukki scoring a load of goals, and maybe comes back to what we were saying with DeRigo about just failing to take chances. If taken chances, we'd have another 4 goals this year, and everyone would probably think it was good.
Even the Cardiff game, big sexy pirate, obviously you'd expect him to put the penalty away. There's the one that bounced off Brendan Aronson about 2 yards out. That should have gone in. So you're talking 4 there, aren't you, at least?
Do you know what? I'd completely forgotten he missed that penalty. Because I was just looking at the play ratings, and he was at the bottom, was Paul Pascal, 5.87. And I was thinking, God, that's harsh. Just because he had an easy afternoon, but yeah, he missed a penalty. Of course he did.
It was a poor pen, but I'd back him to score the next one. I saw some stuff on the charity walk WhatsApp group that we're in, and also online, saying why is an attacker not taking penalties? David Unsworth will be spinning in his urn listening to that. Of course, and Ian Hart, defenders can take penalties, and he's got a good record. I'd back the big sexy pirate to knock in the next one.
Kevin Pressman's penalty. He was a goalkeeper. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
That is an absolute lesson in kicking the ball hard.
Yeah, very hard.
Really, really hard. Just a goal kick into the top corner.
I bet Al Tanaka takes a good penalty. Should have brought him on. Special teams.
He'd pass it.
Do you think?
Almost certainly. Just knock it sideways.
Well, you have seen that done, haven't you?
It is true. Not successfully, but...
Yeah. Just something else in the mailbag that caught my attention this week. It says, "Hello, Square Ball. I love your show, but I was wondering what you thought about American supporters of Leeds. I personally first got into soccer, and then in brackets, Jack has put football, because I obviously wouldn't have understood what Jack meant otherwise. The same year Leeds got relegated, but chose to stick with them. And as I'm typing this, I'm wearing my Tyler Adams kit from that year. All Leeds, aren't we, Jack?" I couldn't decide if that was a spoof or if Jack was being sincere, but let's straight at it and assume he means it.
When you said about what Leeds got relegated, I thought it was going to mean like the old relegation.
What, in 1982?
Not the more recent one. The original dropping out of the Premier League.
Right.
I think it's fine that people support Leeds from everywhere. I know you obviously have...
You have a rampant anti-American agenda.
Yes, very, very much so. Now, I think the issue has been exclusively with people on Twitter / YouTube comments who wouldn't accept criticism of any American players and would view it the exceptionalism around it as well, of being like only picking up on the fact when we criticize American players, like we would slag off everybody.
We're trashing them all.
We still people go, you always talk, you need to stop slagging off Jesse. We still slag off Neil Warnock. It's fine. We slag off Kevin Blackwell the other week. This is just part of the cultural heritage of the club, is that you get to go. We were talking about Brian Clough the other week, saying how he fucked everything up. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, you're allowed to say people weren't good. And Weston McKennie was, by any standards, a complete disaster.
And by his own admission, he wasn't fit enough and didn't give enough of a shit.
Yeah, he said he admitted he wanted to come to Leeds to get a move elsewhere. And when it became clear that wasn't happening, just couldn't be asked.
But there's this weird kind of culture, I think maybe because the USA doesn't have the same level of heritage, or doesn't have a heritage league within it, that people attach, essentially to the national team for a start, which is all the Twitter weirdos and kids that you were on about. But also then will like idolize the individual players when they're abroad.
Yeah.
In the same way that we still latch onto and will. I mean, we're always going to follow Archie Gray, for example, because he feels like one of ours. In the same way, James Milner, Alan Smith, that kind of thing. Yeah. But you follow him and you latch onto him, so you kind of understand it from that perspective. Albeit it does feel slightly alien to us to latch onto somebody based purely on nationality. Yeah. Because for the most part, we hate a lot of the England team.
Oh god, yeah. Like, I hope Harry Kane doesn't win a fucking thing.
Right.
In Germany. Personally, I hope he stays there for another 5 years and never wins a thing.
And that's just because we're bitter and cynical.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I don't much like Harry Kane. And I certainly don't like Bayern Munich. So I hope the whole thing is a failure.
Well, on bitter and cynical, my issue with Jack's message here is he says that he chose to stick with us. Chose. It's never felt like a choice to be a Leeds United fan. It's never felt like a choice to be in the stadium, sweating bullets, shit in your pants, biting your nails.
Not going to lie, mate. I feel like I'm here under duress now.
Yeah. I feel like at a high level, someone at Leeds United has some information about me that they're holding over my head to make sure that I keep turning up. Otherwise, I might have just decided to get really into water polo or something.
There is genuinely though. There's part of me, when we lose, and I was saying like just in the immediate wake of Burnley, it's not like an outward rage anymore. It's just like what's the point in any of this? You hit that point in the cycle. But one of the key things that stops me following that thought through to its logical conclusion and just sacking all this off is I'm not sure what else I'd do with my time.
Yeah.
And it is fun. And because we are often, or so often, we are the villains. And I'll give you an example. I was off last week because I was at a wedding. My brother and sister-in-law got married. And
I was going to say your brother and sister got married then.
Nope. We're going back to Norwich then, aren't we? I think. But no, I officiated the wedding as celebrant. So in the groom's speech,
can anyone do that?
They were already married, mate. It's
all right.
basically just a performance.
All right. So you're the hype man.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I was the MC.
Yeah.
I'm going to add that to the list of jobs I can have. If you want me as a celebrant, do 50 quid.
So it was a piss up, were you just shouting on a microphone?
Basically, yeah.
Oh, great. Sorry, carry on.
But yeah, so during the groom's speeches at a very posh wedding venue up in North Yorkshire, he thanked me for being celebrant, and he'd organised with some of his mates to start singing Leeds Are Falling Apart Again. During the fucking groom's speech at a really posh wedding, it was about Leeds. And so I'll take that I stood up and was like, come on then.
Yeah.
Gotta take you on. But that's what keeps me coming back.
It's Braveheart, that, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Wow.
We're quite close to Hadrian's Wall. But the idea here is for him to be able to choose to stick around, I think it chooses you, is my argument.
Yeah. And I think once you become embedded in it, there's no way out.
No.
There's no way out. You're in for life.
Yeah. I think you need to get to some games, though. I think that's key.
Right.
I feel like you'll be much more taken with it if you can get to a game, because I feel like until you maybe not the case for everyone, but I feel like maybe until you've tasted it properly, it feels like a choice.
Right.
Whereas once you've been a bit, that's when you're like, well, I've committed now, Anna.
I've said before, like, it gets me every time I walk out of the gangway in the East Stand and see the pitch. The green is so green. It's like the greenest grass on earth.
Hearing 30-odd thousand people singing and marching on together, it never gets old, ever.
Yeah. And I know people like hate the description, going to church this weekend, and like that kind of semi-religious like iconography. It sounds a little bit cheesy, but there is a real sort of sense of like community and communion with it all. I do feel like it's kind of where my tribe is, and if it's not there, then I don't know where it is.
Wait until these new stands are built, and it'll be like
I hate it. I'm going to hate it
to the
all.
White Rose shopping centre.
But anyway, back to the American fans. Yeah, come on over, have a visit. I mean, you mentioned before you hate tourists being in there, so.
Yeah, I think I say tourists. Tourists, yes. Yeah, I think we should milk them for all they're worth.
Right.
Make it so available, but it's £800 a ticket.
Come see us soon, Jack. Get over here. Bring your Tyler Adams shirt.
Yeah. In fairness, that's a good start, actually, for being a Leeds fan. You should have a collection of shirts with people you now dislike on the back of them.
Like Harry Kewell, your famous Kewell shirt.
It's only right. It's only right. There's an article in the last mag of people with Kevin Nichols and Rahubka and Felipe da Costa and all these people on shirt. You can't really hate Felipe da Costa, can you? But just like, you should have some failed footballers on the back of shirts.
I did some years back, I think it was still in the Nike era, get my girlfriend at the time. It was the yellow away shirt and her name and number 1 on the back, which, come on, I was a young man at the time, but it actually irks me some years later because it was number 1 on an outfield shirt.
That's the first thing I thought of when you said the number 1. I was like, that doesn't fit. Doesn't fit.
Didn't get 69. Didn't go with the joke.
Didn't go with that. But I'm going to wrap the show up there and so join us for Propaganda on Wednesday. It's moved to Wednesday now.
How long did it take her to dump you after
that? Not long after.
Yeah.
Not long after.
And it was her choice.
No, it was actually me.
Of course it was.
That's what I'm telling everybody anyway. Right, we'll be back on Wednesday with Propaganda and another roundup towards the back end of the week. And we'll preview. Have we got the weekend? Some championship?
Coventry.
Great. Still unforgiven for 1987. We'll see you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.